Vandeham
Hare Krishna. Welcome, dear devotees. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are back here celebrating this beautiful book, Bond of Love, a sharing and offering by over 200 Srila Prabhupada's daughters. Every time I read this book, my heart just warms up with all this love and affection and memories that these Vaishnavis have, written. They've just poured their hearts into this book. So if you haven't grabbed a copy of this book, please head over to Amazon and type Bond of Love, and it's a must-have copy. It's our great honor to welcome Her Grace Manjuali Prabhu to the show today. Hare Krishna, Manjuali Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Hare Bol, Hare Bol.
Please accept my humble obeisances.
Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
It's such an honor to have you on this show and to have this opportunity to have a conversation with you, Manjuali Prabhu. Thank you so much for being here and for accepting our invitation.
You're welcome. It's my joy to be here to share my Guru Maharaj.
Thank you. So for those of you that do not know Manjuali Prabhu has been a bhakti practitioner for almost 50 years with dedicated devotional service. She was initiated in Los Angeles, and then now she lives in England. Prabhupada has sent her with her family to start a center and preach. Manjuali Prabhu, it has been just reading her memory in the Bond of Love has been so inspirational, and her life is absolutely just hearing about her life story gives me such faith and determination. It was reminding me of actually the pastime of Bali Maharaj. I was listening to the pastime of Bali Maharaj, and he just made up his mind that he's going to dedicate his life. He is going to do Atma Nivedan. And that's what I feel from your life. You've just decided that you are going to dedicate your life to Srila Prabhupada and this movement. So it's such an honor to have you here. I just want to start this conversation. Tell us a little bit about how you were introduced to Krishna consciousness and what really inspired you to walk on this path of bhakti.
Well, thank you, Govinda Priya, and to all the friends and devotees. I just want to offer my obeisances to my Guru Maharaj before I speak. So, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Ati Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastutare Satarane. So it's my great privilege to be here today and to share a little bit about my story with Srila Prabhupada, but Srila Prabhupada's story really, I'm just insignificant. But, I was on a quest to find out what life was about. Why are we here? And I had, part of I dropped out of university and went to Woodstock and went traveling, and then back to Chicago where I had to visit family. And I met the devotees in 1971, I think, January, in Chicago in the Little Halsted Street Temple. And Baal Lasva, bless him, our dear God brother who has passed away recently, last year maybe, he gave me my first Back to Godhead. And I just remember when I took home the Back to Godhead and I just read it and I just got a big yes. This is what I was looking for. And I remember underlining so many of the articles, and just, but it was just a little tiny temple there. There wasn't quarters. It was a storefront. There were just brahmacharis and krunamai and baulasvas. So I would visit, and I was kind of only staying for a few months. And then the temple closed because it was too, they just couldn't manage it financially, and everybody was going to Detroit, and I didn't want to go to Detroit, so I just went to back to California. But I just remember I got my beads then, I went to the craft shop, and I've still got these beads. I went to the craft shop and got the beads and started chanting 50 years ago, the same beads that Prabhupada chanted on. And it was just like that chanting, the holy name is what, has brought me here today. And reading Srila Prabhupada's books. And actually, when I went back to California, I would visit all the temples up and down the coast of Oregon. Dohnavir and Kamla were in Oregon, and then Seattle, and then back down. And I actually ended up in Santa Barbara. And Dinabandhu Nakuti said, "Oh, Prabhupada's going to come to New Dwarka. So, do you want to go and see the big deities?" And I had never been to New Dwarka because I was keeping away from big cities. And they took me to Los Angeles, to New Dwarka, and immediately I felt home. I felt like, yes, this is what I was looking for. And I started sewing and, doing service. And and I got captured by Srila Prabhupada, waiting for Srila Prabhupada, but also, doing service and being in a community that was the biggest temple in 72. It was the biggest temple in ISKCON, and devotees were so welcoming. And yes, so that's just a little introduction to how I came.
That's beautiful. So you said that you went to the craft store to get these beads?
Yeah. And because actually when I got initiated, we didn't have Tulsi beads. Everybody didn't have Tulsi beads. So these are the same. We went to the craft store, and then we had to get one bead for the Krishna bead, so one little bead. And then we strung the beads. And then when I was getting initiated, these beads went to Srila Prabhupada, and he chanted on them. And, and when I got initiated, so I've had all these 50 years since, I chanted on for a year before I was initiated.
So you chanted on them, and then you gave them to Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada chanted on them and gave them back to you. That is amazing.
Yeah.
And you strung these beads yourself?
Yeah, we strung them up. Oh, they've been restrung a few times, because they break after a few years.
That is amazing.
But the beads have been my companion. Because the holy name for me is the deity. I mean, we have our deities, and we have our pujas, and our homes are temples, and we worship the deity in the in the dome and in the temples. But actually, the holy name is the deity as well that Srila Prabhupada gifted us with. And the holy name is portable. We can take it anywhere. We can be turning it in our mind at all times. So this is it works for me.
It's beautiful. I think it's so personal connection that you have with your beads, rather than it from any store. I was we see a comment here, and she said, "I joined."
Oh yeah. Oh, Hare Krishna. Oh, I remember her from Los Angeles. Beautiful.
And I've heard so many wonderful stories of different devotees expressing their love, of how you engage them in the service. So it's just an extension of all that love and gratitude you have in your heart that you're able. It's overflowing.
No, but it's just, we were a team. We were all young people, and we just came and Srila Prabhupada ignited something in us. He saw through all our, in one letter he's written, I have come to I have picked up malechas and yavanas and lower them, and still the service is successful because of his grace only. It's only Srila Prabhupada's grace that we're sitting here today, that we actually know about Krishna, that he made the sacrifice to come to the West on the order of his Guru Maharaj, on the order of Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, on the order of the whole lineage of Mahaprabhu, that he came to the West to uplift society, to give us a gateway to love of God. And that's pretty miraculous. And that's how, when we, in the old days, and actually still you see it in the temples. So I don't live in a temple now. I visit the manor in Soho Street. It's Krishna consciousness is infectious. Krishna consciousness awakens. It's devotional service is our gateway to love. And everyone wants to belong. And Prabhupada made a big home for all of us to belong, and a family of devotees. And that's been one of the most important things in my journey through challenges, has been the community of devotees, the community of the fellowship of like-minded souls who are consciously on a path of service and exploration to actually reach Krishna, to come to Krishna. And this is, this is miraculous, really. And
So beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That is a fact. Just your deep, your deep realizations on chanting in the holy name, literally giving me goosebumps while you were talking about a relationship with the holy name and it being portable. So, so true. Thank you for that. Tell us a little bit more about Manjuali Prabhu, your the years you spent in New Dwarka.
Well, actually, New Dwarka was on fire when I joined, and Ananga Vijay, I forgot her name. Anyway, everyone that was in New Dwarka of 72 to, well, I was there till 76, but it was really alive, we were working so hard. There were 23 of us brahmacharis in one room. We had to put our sleeping bags down before evening arti, so you wouldn't end up by the toilet, and have people jumping over you. And but it was just ecstatic, because it was like that Krishna sandwich, morning program, service all day, and then evening program and class. And Srila Prabhupada spent quite a lot of time, because he translated all the Chaitanya Charitamritas there. So we had Srila Prabhupada's morning classes, and we had his presence, in our lives. And it was a huge, huge blessing. And it was just a real hive of activity. And the books were going out, and the books were printed, and the art department was there, and it was just, it was electric. And there was so much service. So we could all, whatever your tendency was, whether you were an artist or a cook or, book distributor or paint, whatever were your tendencies. Prabhupada had that wonderful word dovetail, didn't he? So whatever our tendencies were, we were used in Krishna's service. And that was, that was wonderful. So, we had the incense factory, so we would be, filling bottles of incense one day a week for a couple of days a week, and then we'd go out on Sankirtan, and everybody went on book distribution on the weekend. There was only a skeleton crew left. The whole temple went on book distribution on Saturday, and they sent us out with, doll, and we would be in teams. And we would go out, and we were very competitive, and it was really, it was amazing. And we went on Harinam, and the kirtans were just ecstatic too, and evening arti, everybody was at evening arti. And, we danced our hearts out. We just loved it. And the classes, and the classes were really amazing too. And, there was even Isha Paladashan. We were learning the slokas, and it was, and sewing for the deities. And I really loved deity worship, because I had studied art, and it was like something that I could be artistic for Krishna. And so it was, and we didn't know anything, but we were quite, Prabhupada taught us everything, how to do deity worship, how to cook, a consciousness. It was uplifting our consciousness. Whatever we were doing, we would try to do as special and with good intention. And Prabhupada always taught us attention to detail. So everything was done with mindfulness and with a prayer. And then it was, we kind of fed our souls, and we shared it together. So that was really wonderful, that there was a focus, a common focus. And that common focus was to please Srila Prabhupada. And a byproduct was self-realization. But first, it was to please Srila Prabhupada, and to do it in the best way we could, with the most heart, with using our intelligence, using, whatever was given to us in this incarnation, to actually offer ourselves, to dedicate ourselves to assisting Srila Prabhupada, and to do it with attention to detail and prayerfully, mindfully. And he taught us that.
Beautiful. And like the wise say, attention to detail is an expression of love. That's just, it's just how you express love.
It's how you express love, but it's being present. It's not automatic. And every day is a new day. And there's a sense of wonder and alive. And that's actually something we were speaking about, for devotees who haven't actually met Srila Prabhupada. He's so accessible to us through his books, through those who love him, and through prayer, through asking for help, and actually sitting with a picture of his, sitting with the holy name, and, going to his feet and putting our heads at his feet and saying, please be here. Please help me to come closer to you. Please help me to be successful in this and please you. Because actually pleasing Srila Prabhupada is the ticket back home.
It sure is. That's just pleasing his disciples is a ticket back home.
Yeah, and because Srila Prabhupada carries the lineage of Mahaprabhu. Srila Prabhupada carries the knowledge, he carries Krishna in his heart. So if we can actually if we can come with humility and gratitude and to his lotus feet, and beg him, please, I have no qualification, but I desire to please you. Please show me how to. And then miracles happen, and little and we get inspirations come. Oh, how can I do this? How can I do that?
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for that sharing. And so when Srila Prabhupada was spending this extensive amount of time in New Dwarka, translating, share some pastimes with us.
Okay. I've spoke to Siddhanta Prabhu, and a lot of it's documented because I don't have tons of stories. But this morning when I was chanting my japa, I was just remembering one day when I was, Prabhupada would come down in the morning for Govinda, to greet the deities after his morning walk. And the Govinda prayers would be playing. And we would be, doing the chamra. There were 3 altars. It's where the Diorama studio is now in Los Angeles. That was the first temple on Watsika. And, the incense, the doors would open, the Govinda prayers would come, the incense would be bellowing out, and we would be doing the chamra. And and just right on your shoulder, there would be Srila Prabhupada looking at Krishna. And it was like being totally in the spiritual world, because we would be doing this for Prabhupada. We're not doing anything. By his grace, he put us there to do that. And we were just doing service, and he was seeing Krishna. And that is just a little moment in time where when I look this way and I see Prabhupada looking at Krishna, and I'm just doing the chamra. As in service. In service, not, I am not doing anything. It's his grace is doing the chamra. I'm just helping. I'm doing my little bit by his grace. It's nothing to do with me. I just happened to be there at that moment in time to get his grace of watching him out of the corner of my eye, seeing Krishna, and Krishna smiling back at him.
So beautiful. It just looks like
just one little moment in life, and a moment that's eternal, because association with our Guru Maharaj is beyond time and space. It's in another place. It's another realm. And it's not just the sentimentality of that, because sentiment is part of it, but also it's that we come to this world to be of service to the divine, and we dedicate ourselves to the divine. And then when we have little moments like that, where it's affirmed, there is divinity, and that divinity is accessible to everybody. And that is the gift of Srila Prabhupada, is that there's no bars. Prabhupada said, it's not religion, it's Sanatana Dharma. And that is accessible, whatever your religion is. You can still love God, love Krishna. Yeah? And Prabhupada taught us by his example, by his books, by his sacrifice as an old man, 70 years old. He had his birthday on the Jayatirtha, and he had those few years, that little window, to actually awaken the world to Krishna and to uplift society. And we were so blessed to be, captured in his net.
So take us a little forward from, your journey, spending those years in New Dwarka, and from what I'm seeing in the chat messages, that it was electric. Everybody is saying that those
it was just magic. But wherever Prabhupada was, it was magic then, it was, we had loads of energy. We were really on the same page, in the sense that we really wanted to please Srila Prabhupada and spread this Krishna conscious movement, and do it with all our talents that we kind of had, to please Srila Prabhupada and to assist him in his mission. And yes, it was electric. And, and Prabhupada was, he was personal too, in the sense, and he had a sense of humor. And I can tell a little story about a sense of humor.
Please do.
I mean, this is not a New Dwarka story. This is actually a Vrindavan story. But in 1974, the temple was supposed to open in Vrindavan, Krishna Balaram temple. So Srila Prabhupada, by his grace, said to my husband, come to Vrindavan for the opening and bring your wife. And I would never have been able to go, but it was Prabhupada's order, bring your wife. So I got to come. And so we were going to, there's two stories here. One of them's, do you want the funny one for, no, I'll just give the story. So anyway, we were going to Vrindavan and with Pradyumna on the plane. And then we came to, there's a lovely story. We were in the Delhi temple. It was just a tiny little temple. Tejas and Madeira were there. Todamol Lane, I remember. It was just a little tiny temple. And we were cooking for Srila Prabhupada. Madeira invited me to help her cook. And there was just like a handful of devotees there. And Prabhupada's plane arrived, I think, just after ours. So we were on two different flights. So Prabhupada arrived and we were cooking. Well, I was kind of sous chef. So I was cutting up and helping. And Prabhupada came and he took his shower. And then right adjacent to the kitchen, he was Tejas's office. And Srila Prabhupada, took his shower, and then he took out the harmonium. And the whole time we were cooking, he was singing all the songs of Narottam Das Thakur and Bhaktivedanta Thakur and the Vaishnavacharyas. And it was like, when we were in the temple, we'd have a tape playing, of the Govinda or a lecture playing. And here it was like being in the spiritual world. We were cooking for Srila Prabhupada, and just adjacent to the kitchen, Prabhupada was doing his bhajan, his prayer work. He was singing, and for the whole time we were cooking, more than an hour and a half, he sang. And it was, I just wish I had had a tape recorder, but actually it went in, I can still remember. And another example that while he was doing his, he came to India, he was relaxed. It wasn't in there, he was home in India. And immediately it wasn't like he took shelter of the holy name. He took shelter of the Vaishnavacharyas. He took shelter of his bhajan. And that was such a blessing, that actually, how often do we take shelter of the bhajan, and as a spiritual practice, and Prabhupada taught by example. That was amazing. And then after we went to, the next day, we were going to Vrindavan. And I remember following Srila Prabhupada's car. We were in the second. There were two white ambassadors, That was the only car in India, 74. And there wasn't any built up in Raman Reddy then. And I just remember following Srila Prabhupada's car into Vrindavan along that road. And it was like, it was quite miraculous, actually. He took us to Vrindavan. We followed him. He took us to Vrindavan by giving us the holy name, but he physically took us to Vrindavan as well. And that was, just to follow his car. It's like when we're chanting our japa, we're following the mantra, and we're following his car. Metaphorically.
Just like you followed him to Vrindavan.
Yeah, and just the car coming like that. Anyway, now comes the funny story. I was Jamuna and Dina, of course, our dear Dina and Jamuna were cooking and I was invited to help in the kitchen. So we had all these, we were cooking on the floor. And it was like completely out of my comfort zone, but we were just cutting things up. And Srila Prabhupada appeared at the door. And we were doing, Srila Prabhupada, he came to the kitchen door, which was just like it was a tiny little room. It was like, anyway. And he said, with a big smile on his face, "Where is the fat lady?" And he was looking for his sister. Shiva, and he came and he had this big smile on his face and he said, "Where is the fat lady?" And I said, "Oh, do you mean your sister, Srila Prabhupada?" "I want to see her," he said. And she had gone to the ladies' room, so she wasn't there. So we said, "Oh, Srila Prabhupada, we'll have her come and see you, But it was just like his naughtiness, he was just being a naughty. And he was playful with his sister, and he saw us all cooking and doing all this, and Pishima was helping, as well, but she had gone out of the room then. But it was just like that, that time when Prabhupada showed his humanity. And he showed his love for his sister as well, and his playfulness.
So beautiful. Just when you were mentioning Srila Prabhupada's playfulness, I've read of different stories of Srila Prabhupada having conversation with her about her being a little overweight.
And she didn't speak English, of course, so it was all, but she loved Prabhupada so much, as Shruti Rupa's probably, and Nanga Manjari had a lot of association, and of course Dina and Jabuna as well. I only met her at that time, and so I didn't really have a lot of association, but she was just a real beautiful heart, and loved her brother, and loved being with the devotees too, and she loved cooking.
Right. So tell us, from New Dwarka, how did you end up in England? What took you to England?
Well, in 1976, Srila Prabhupada at the Mayapur Festival in 76, Srila Prabhupada asked Jayatirtha, my former husband, to become GBC of England. And he was a GBC in New Dwarka then, and the temple president. So we were sent to Bhaktivedanta Manor. And Srila Prabhupada was going to come in a few months. So he wanted us to decorate and build up the community, because LA was really vibrant, and there was a big book distribution program going on under Rameshwar Maharaj, and there was just so much happening. So he saw potential in England and at the Manor, which was an amazing, I don't know if you've been to the Manor, but it's a wonderful community and a wonderful building whole. And Srila Prabhupada just wanted to take it to the next level. And Jayatirtha had a very creative eye, and he was a good manager. So we were sent to England. And so I had a 6-week-old baby, and we just... we had 2 weeks to move. He was a month then when I heard the news. And so we had 2 weeks to move to England. So my baby was 6 months. And then we came, and Srila Prabhupada came a few months later. And he was really pleased with, the changes and the community, and he stayed for a little while, and so that was it was Prabhupada's grace. We came to England, and we did a lot of service in England, making all the curtains in the temple room, making deity outfits, making everything, cooking, as we did. We just served so much, and it was a real blessing, because again, there was such a wonderful community of devotees. And I think that's one of the most important things Srila Prabhupada gave us, is community, fellowship of like-minded souls who are actually have a taste for Krishna and want to take their practice deeper and work as a team to spread this movement in creative and creative ways, and ways that so, and it's still going on, so many years later, 45 years later, it's more vibrant than it ever's been, and that is because those Jamuna and dear Malati and all these devotees, Shamsundar, Gurudas, Mukunda, Janaki, they came to England, and they, by Srila Prabhupada's grace, laid a foundation, and then future, we just built on that. But, so it's the pioneers, the early pioneers, laid the foundation, and then by Srila Prabhupada's grace, it's going from level to level. So it was just, my service wasn't that much. I mean, I was just trying to please Srila Prabhupada, and that's why we're all here. Whoever's on this call, it's about pleasing the master, because we're taught if we can please the master, then we can please Krishna.
Absolutely. So, in your
Has your line dropped?
life, there has been so many situations. I think we're back. Maybe my internet is
dropped. A little pause there. Making connection.
Right. I think it's a little better now. So let's try this question again.
Okay.
In all of our lives, we have situations where our faith is tested, and we're really challenged. We're struggling with this thought whether this process works, doesn't work. Are we doing the right thing? And I've seen that, just learning a little bit more about your life, you have just stood like a rock, saying that I am going to dedicate my life. How did you develop this faith, and what can you recommend to everyone that's listening to us now and will listen to us in the future, to retain this faith in the movement and Srila Prabhupada, the holy name? Please tell us.
The most important thing that has kind of got me through, there's a couple of things, but one is to have an active daily program, to actually take shelter of the holy name, to rise early, and to follow, the principles, and to pray. That actually, life has been challenged, but everyone has challenges in life. There's nobody alive that doesn't have challenges. Some of us get, a little bit more challenges. The rug gets pulled out of, and you have to kind of learn to swim again or learn to walk again. But actually, everyone has challenges. And the solace is the holy name, the philosophy, the books, and the books challenge too, because our mind is conditioned, and But what has been really important for me is the holy name, prayer. Of just every day, in the morning when we wake up, we put our head to the floor and we dedicate ourselves every day. And to take and to do it not as automatic pilot, but to actually engage with the process, with our spiritual practice, and to set ourselves little challenges to chat more rounds, or to read something that we haven't read, or to be kind to someone else, to help others, to serve our communities, and to carry Krishna. You know, some of us are carrying Krishna on the front line, soldiers, and some of us are in the background. And we're praying for those who are on the front line. And we're supporting those that are making sacrifices, because all of us have a role to play. And it's not just one role, but it's actually to hold, you know, the movement, but to hold our own focus in spiritual practice. That is the bedrock. That is the foundation, is to have a daily practice and to actually and keep it alive, keep it fresh. Otherwise, it gets boring. Anything gets boring. Sometimes we don't want to get up early. Sometimes, you know, oh God, I have to check my rounds again. It's to keep it fresh, to actually, you know, ask Krishna, what would you like today? You know, I have a relationship with your deity, and just really sit with Srila Prabhupada and feel his presence and listen, because he speaks through Super Soul, you know. He's present. He's Krishna's representative. So if we can actually develop a relationship, Krishna consciousness is a personal philosophy. So if we can develop a relationship with Srila Prabhupada through his books, through chanting, through gardening, through looking after our families, you know, by cooking, it's not about so much doing, but it's our mind, you know, our intention, our sincerity, our attempted sincerity. And it's to follow the saints, you know, the people who inspire us in life, you know, like Mother Jamuna and Dina. They were such an inspiration to me, you know, in Los Angeles when I was a new devotee, Sachi Devi. They were just people that I just looked up to, and they taught me. And so many other friends that I can't name because there's so many who are continually. Guru Chanapama invited me back to the manor. I was working. She said, "Oh, please come back." And, you know, and I came back, and it was like I'd never, and it was not like I had ever left, but I just had to step aside from the politics at one point in my journey. And that was important for me to do that, because actually, you know, we come on our own and we leave on our own. So we have to have a really strong practice ourselves and not be dependent on, you know, the group serves and helps us to come closer, but actually we have to do the work individually. And that work is our sadhana. And it's sharing Srila Prabhupada's grace as appropriate in society, and being a good example to others as well that are questing and need help and are suffering, you know, because the world is a place of suffering. And I think as an old lady now, you know, in my 70s, you know, when I look back, I see the clock is ticking, and the clock is ticking faster when you're older. So if you don't get serious now, you're never going to get serious. And why waste a human life? There's a wonderful devotee who passed away last year, Shruti Dharma, who was the temple president. I don't know if you've ever met him, the Bhaktivedanta Manor. Such a saintly, wonderful devotee. And he had this motto, just give one life to Krishna. And it was so, you know, give one life to Krishna. What is one life? Let's just give it to Krishna, you know? And that is, you know, because Krishna, because of Srila Prabhupada, you know, he touched our hearts, he touched our minds, and he gave us a vehicle to actually become God realized in this lifetime, in the age of Kali. How miraculous is that, huh? And it's mystical too.
Manjuali Prabhu, you emphasize so much on this aspect of being conscious in all our daily practices, whether it is worshiping the deity. That is so beautiful. Thank you for reiterating that and emphasizing the aspect of being conscious
and present.
And present. I heard you say the word prayer, significant times. Share, if you don't mind, share with us a little prayer. What do you pray? Oftentimes I'm standing in front of the deities and I want to pray. And I know, but it's just sometimes, you just don't feel at that moment.
Well, prayer is personal, isn't it? It's opening our hearts to Krishna, to our Guru Maharaj. It's saying, please help me. I have no qualification. I have no desire to love you. If you read the story, the songs of Bhaktivedanta Thakur, the sons of the Acharyas, what are we? The prayers of Shastakam prayers. Who are we? Prophets and malicious sutras and worse than, but still we offer ourselves. And I think that is what I learned. And it is in all faith traditions, actually. It's a relationship about that actually, it's not about the big I, me. It's about putting our head at the feet of divinity and saying, please help me and use me in your service, that I might be useful, that I might please you. And that is really the prayer. The prayer is, please guide me where I can be of the most service to honor you and to share your glories. It's, it's just to ask for healing for those that are hurting and ask for guidance how to serve with humility, with gratitude, with compassion, with forgiveness, with all those qualities, and love, and how do we do that? Prabhupada told me, in Los Angeles once, so he called me up because I was dressing the deities, and he loved. Oh, he was happy with the deities. That was nothing to do with me. It was just he was giving me some grace. And Shudikirti came to the kitchen and said, oh, Manjuali, Prabhupada wants to see you. Well, that was the only time Prabhupada ever wanted to see me. And I went running up the stairs, and went to his room and offered my obeisances. And I can still see in my mind's eye the room and the sun coming in behind Srila Prabhupada, and he was golden. He was golden, and he was smiling. and the orange curtains and the blue walls, and I offered my obeisances, and Prabhupada asked, so did you dress the deities? No. I said, yes, Srila Prabhupada, is everything all right? And he said, paused, and then he said, very nice. Thank you very much. And then he said, and this is like the most important thing for all of us, he said, always serve Krishna, always love Krishna, always remember Krishna. And I don't remember the order, but that was the essence. Serve, remember, love Krishna. And this life will be perfect, and the next will be perfect, for you'll go back to Godhead. And that wasn't just about me. This was the message for all of us, is that we have to remember Krishna. We have to serve Krishna. We have to love Krishna. And that is the ticket back home. And Prabhupada, that's what he carried. And I remember, and then he went to had Shudikirti take his pouch, and he took out $20 and gave me for the deities. And so again teaching, dakshina, offering. Krishna, offering. Every time we go to the deity, we make an offering. Even, something in the box, we make an offering. And Prabhupada is teaching the importance of dakshina, of offering. And so that was just, and he said also, the more we dress the deity, the more we dress our heart with Krishna consciousness.
How beautiful is that?
So, and teach others. He always said, teach others too. You learn something, and then he says, now share with others. And that is actually the reason we're all here, is that we share with others. Because that is his legacy, Krishna conscious, I have taught you this, now you teach others, and the others will teach others, and it'll be a whole, wave of Krishna consciousness will go over the planet, and Mahaprabhu's mission will be successful. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta and Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur's mission. And people will have the grace of liberation in this lifetime by the holy name, by the association of a saint, a true saint. Srila Prabhupada is a true saint. And many of his devotees are very advanced, very, very special devotees. And we take their dust because this is what helps us in our spiritual life, is the association of those who love Krishna and who are serious about taking their practice deeper, being, and living the philosophy. Srila Prabhupada lived Krishna consciousness, an example. And, so as disciples and as grand disciples, he's inviting us into his family to actually assist him in the mission and to do it with good heart and good mind, discernment. We have to have our staff of discernment, and we have to, and the philosophy is in the books, so we have to study the books. So it's not just lightweight, the process is there. And that's one thing that I found really helpful in this last year and a half of lockdown, is having reading groups with some of my god sisters in England here. And actually Mandakini's on our dear Mandakini as well. We're studying Srimad Bhagavatam together, and we do have homework. And we show up every Monday for an hour and a half and read together. And that is just so, so helpful, because we can discuss the philosophy. If things push buttons and we don't understand, Mother Vishaka is on our group. She's such a wise woman. And Balagopala, so Jagadatri, so many wonderful god sisters. And so in a safe place, we can actually study the books as a group of ladies and discuss and read together. And that is just such a wonderful. And then we've got a Chaitanya Charitamrita reading group as well, which is going through, the Chaitanya Charitamrita as, that's not a study group, but it's a reading group. So having different, even with Zoom and WebEx and Skype, taking the opportunity to use this facility, because we're not all in physical places, we're enriching our lives. And when we're enriched, we can share it, because Prabhupada's whatever in the one letter he wrote me in my encounters, it was always, now you have done nicely, now teach others. So that's actually, and I just wanted to say one other thing, because we're probably running out of time, but for the younger generation, you girls that are just have been maybe, be not Prabhupada disciples, but, disciples. I just wanted to just say that Prabhupada is your ever-well-wisher as well. And, you know, you are so important in the family of devotees. And Srila Prabhupada, by his mystical grace, is so alive and present in the movement and in the Krishna consciousness family of devotees. And as I mentioned before, I mean, prayer is one of my gateways, but by praying, by asking Prabhupada to be present in your life, because, you know, Guru, that is not time and space, you know. It's a spiritual relationship. It's a transcendental relationship, as Srila Prabhupada taught us. And the divine is accessible when we bow there and we say, please be present for me. Please give me a message, help me, encourage me. Give me what I need to come closer to you and come closer to Krishna. And that is, you know, I just wanted to reiterate that, you know, Prabhupada's been gone for 44 years. That's a long time. But Prabhupada is more present now than he's ever been in my life and in your lives. And that is through his grace. You know, he has the grace of Nityananda Prabhu and Mahaprabhu. And he, so I just wanted to encourage and just say that, you know, we are so, so fortunate that he has touched our hearts and he is touching the hearts of the world as well. And that there is no limit to divinity.
Manjuali Prabhu, I'm just mesmerized here, with all the deep and so many beautiful teachings that you have taught us today. Prayer, meditation.
And meditation, yeah, meditation is just to sit in the presence and ask for help and, you know, and turn the name. Keep turning the name and actually getting in the practice of making a connection throughout the day. It's not just when we chant our japa in the morning and we chant our Gayatri at midday and we chant our Gayatri again. It's actually weaving the presence of the divine throughout our day. And that is, if you're in a temple, you're doing offerings all day long. If you're sweeping, if you're working in the garden, if you're, you know, working in an office, if you're a lawyer, if you're a teacher, it's just having that little opportunity, a practice, actually, a good habit. Prabhupada said there's good habits and bad habits. So it's just to introduce a habit that works for you. I mean, that works for me. So it may not work for, but I find that it keeps the spiritual life alive. It keeps that sense of wonder there. And there has to be a sense of wonder. Shamasunder so nicely calls it Krishna magic. Everybody wants Krishna magic. So how do you get Krishna magic? You engage.
It's one question some devotees asking, what does your name actually mean?
When I got initiated, Srila Prabhupada said Gopi name.
Gopi's name.
It's one of the gopis.
Yeah.
And then someone said, oh, is it supposed to be Manjulali? Because that she's one of them. And anyway, this is the way the spelling was. Prabhupada, he looked at me when I got initiated and he gave me my beads and he said, Manjuali Devi Dasi, Gopi name.
How sweet. Manjuali Prabhu, you know, when you were talking about following Srila Prabhupada in the car to Vrindavan, I was literally visualizing you following.
You were in the car with me.
I only hope. But I was visualizing you following Srila Prabhupada back home, back to Godhead.
Well, the car, you know, we're following that car. And we just, and no qualification, just pure grace, accessible to everyone, that pure grace. And that is the miracle and the gift of Krishna consciousness, that the love of God, love of Guru, is accessible to everyone, because Krishna is in everyone's heart. So the trick is to actually meet Krishna in everyone's heart and to share that, because everyone's looking to belong and for love. And Krishna, he is the God of love.
Absolutely brilliant. I can't believe we're at the end of our hour. And please, like I like to say, please don't go into hiding. Please come here and
I'm
share.
just in my little bhajan kutir here, doing my little puja. But I do, if I'm invited, I step up. Prabhupada, he asked me to do this today, didn't he? So I had to come out of my cave.
And we have so many wonderful messages from
Moksha, Hare Krishna, my dear sister. Moksha Lakshmi, bless you.
So many of them are sharing their hearts about how this conversation has, touched them in so many ways.
God bless. Oh, Krishna bless. I just tried to share a few bits, but works for me. But we're all learning from each other, and that is the gift of community. That devotees, the association of devotees is probably one of the most important things in helping us to strengthen our faith and to develop good practice. So we learn from each other. So thank you. It's been my honor to share with you today.
Thank you so
much. To my Guru Maharaj. Jai.
Jai. Manjuali Prabhu, thank you for being such an inspiration, such a wonderful example of dedication and devotion. Truly, it's been an honor to have this conversation with you.
Thank you, Govinda Priya. Thank you, Govinda Priya Devi, and glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Yes. Thank you so much to all our viewers for joining us today. Please share this conversation with whoever you think will benefit from hearing, these heartfelt realizations by Manjuali Prabhu. And thank you so much to our technical team. Here we have Shamasaki behind the scenes, handling. And we have our Vaishnavi ministry team, Tiffany, Carly, Victoria, that work behind the scenes, getting all these announcements out. So very, very grateful to the entire team and to Manjuali Prabhu for joining us today, and to all our viewers as well. So, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, and look forward to seeing you again. Hare Krishna.